people were there? More or less 20, more or less 40?
We planned for 20, but later as friends call one another, then you lose control of the situation. So I can't tell whether they were now ended up being 30, 50, somewhere there. But at that point in time, it's no longer a concern. The only thing is is what is happening at that time.
So between 30 and 50, you say?
It's possible, less, even less.
And I'm assuming because it's an engagement party, people were giving speeches.
No.
What was happening?
What was happening is that because it was my sons,
yes,
with the friends and everything, so what we did, it was just to guide her on, like for instance, when the lady comes, she didn't know. It was a surprise one. And she didn't know. And this one had flowers and a ring. And then as she came, that's when it was like, wow. And then even the friends, most of the friends were here and everything. And there was that type of exercise when she shows that she's surprised. And then this one kneel down and then talk to her and then put the ring in her finger, and then from there they go in there. So I don't remember of the speeches mostly, but it was more of a celebration.
And I'm assuming, you would have no interest in your son's friends because they are the young crowd. Your focus would be on the older crowd, including your friends and people that you know and the people that you invited.
As I indicated, that I never invited even a single friend.
No, you said Cat must make a 10. That's an invitation. Whatever you call it, when you say somebody must make a 10 at your house, that's an invitation. And I'm assuming you invited Sergeant Nkosi because he won't just show up at your house uninvited. And I'm assuming General Shibiri, you also invited him because he won't just show up at your house uninvited. Same with General Sintumule. She wouldn't just show up at your house uninvited. So at least those 4 colleagues, 3 colleagues plus Matala, were at your house because you said they must make a 10.
That I don't deny, but I just want us to stress and keep in mind at all times is the fact that Cat is not my friend.
No, I didn't say he was your friend. I said those 4 people were at your house because you invited them.
That's correct.
And when you invite people to your house, as I said, you would welcome them because they can't just come into your house and you don't know who's in your house.
They will come and they will greet, and then I will show them where to sit. Yes. That's what happened.
So that part did happen?
With my colleagues, yes.
You did greet Mr. Matala?
Like I indicated yesterday that he came in. Remember, as he came in, I wasn't waiting somewhere, waiting for his arrival and then him coming and me greeting him. It's not how it happened.
Yes, that part I accept because you said there was security at the gate that was ushering people
yes.
in. I'm now concerned with your interaction with Mr. Matala. You greeted him.
I greeted him. I did indicate that at some point we bump into each other.
And you welcomed him and you said you can take a seat and be comfortable.
Yes, so I greeted him and then said, no, welcome.
Yes. No, I just wanted to complete that picture. Thank you.
General, good morning. The chat, it suggests that General Shibiri expected that Mr. Matala would be there or should be there. That's the only way that this message, Cat has arrived there, makes sense, because it's not preceded by anything that explains why Sergeant Nkosi would tell General Shibiri that Cat has arrived. If you look at the texts that start at 8:03:15, General Shibiri, and then Sergeant Nkosi says at 8:03:48, 30 minutes, I'm there. That's what Sergeant Nkosi says, if you're looking at this page. And then General Shibiri says night rider, and the next communication between them is Cat has arrived there. It appears a random chat that's not preceded by anything, and the reasonable I want to suggest to you and hear your comment that it is reasonable to read it as indicating that General Shibiri expected that Matala would be there. That's why Sergeant Nkosi, without prompting from General Shibiri, tells him Ket has arrived.
I don't think there's a nobody is denying that there's a relationship, some sort of a relationship with Matlala, with Shibiri, or with Matlala and Nkosi. So these are people, or even myself, let me include myself there. Because these are people who knew each other at that point in time. As to who is there first and who will be there, who's also coming, it's not a dispute, in dispute.
Okay. With that, are you saying there's nothing unusual if indeed General Shibiri would have expected that Mr. Matlala may have been coming to your house, that it wouldn't be unreasonable to say that because these are people that know each other?
Yes, simply because at that time Mr. Matlala was not in trouble and there was nothing really on the table, so nobody knew. I myself, I didn't know and I didn't expect. I wouldn't have taken a risk of inviting someone that is we all know that is wanted or is under investigation, because my colleagues were also there. I would have been taking a big risk. But because at that point in time, we were talking about a man who is actually working with the police as a stakeholder, working with the police. So for me, really, at that point in time, now I can be killed now for that, but at that point in time, we were all innocent.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Singh.
Sorry, General, something you said, I was going to move off, but something you said prevents me from moving off this now, because you say, you would have had concern if you had known that there were allegations of criminality against Mr. Matlala. That would have been a risk. You are aware that Mr. Matlala is a service provider, and you invite him to a celebration at your home. And as a service provider, bearing in mind this is not like service excellence awards or those kind of situations which are formal, professional kind of environments where service providers are. This is a private, intimate affair. Isn't that contrary to the SAP's regulations and national instructions that govern how you are to manage conflicts of interest? Because isn't that a risk? So quite apart from criminality, isn't it a risk that you may be seen to be biased in favor of a service provider?
I want to answer it in twofold. The first one is the fact that I'm a detective. And if Mr. Matlala is a service provider who works for supply chain, where they allocate tenders, or him supplying service in the detective space, I would be a little bit cautious in doing that. But the second thing that I want to...
sorry, before you say the second thing, can you just repeat for me? You said if something, then you would be cautious, but I didn't quite understand.
I said I would be cautious, or maybe apply my mind in having to invite someone that I know that is a service provider in the detective space, and I invite him to me. But the supply chain is a division on its own, which is far from where I am. I don't even know the people who sit on how tenders are allocated. So I'm far from that space. So I know him as a stakeholder in the police. And that being the case, it's not like it was the first time it's happening with Matlala. Moving to the second part and say, what applies to the goose must also apply to the ganders. And I tried to give such an example yesterday when Commissioner Balo says that, no, General, don't go there. To say I was trying to say, just to mention the same point and say, and this was also discussed at the ad hoc committee. When, if you remember, one of the members, Honorable Diko, saying she also attended a wedding where one of the senior managers of the South African Police Service attended a wedding of a service provider of Metropolitan. And I'm saying, we've attended several incidents or events, including the 5th of March, where we were with the service provider, who is actually the one awarded, I think, that the same tender that has been cancelled from Mr. Matlala. We were with that service provider, with the senior manager, because she came with those service providers. So I'm just saying, to me, you build relationship with stakeholders, and not because of they have to support you or give you something. As human beings, it happens normally, and not because there's any corrupt relationship. So I was just putting, lastly, the one that I want to put also strongly so, is the fact that even General Mkhwanazi himself met with him, and not to discuss any other thing. West of him, they were discussing on how he can help him to get more work. So I was just saying that, and I didn't even disclose it here. So I'm just saying it happens with all of us.
No, okay, I hear that. I'll ask you as we go forward and you answer to just stick to the questions as it applies to you, rather than saying, but so-and-so did this, and so-and-so did that, and so-and-so. That's the first thing. But now that you've given these examples, what is your point of giving the examples? Is it to say that they also committed wrongdoing, or are you saying there's nothing wrong with what they did?
I'm saying, if it is wrongdoing on my part, it shouldn't be wrongdoing on my part when the next person can do the same thing and nothing being said about him. And in other words, you know, when George Orwell says all animals are equals but others are more equal than others, he refers to the same situation. I am standing here having to face to answer questions of knowing Matlala or having spoken to Matlala. But when others are doing it, it's not even a subject to be looked at or discussed. So it is my wish and my prayer that at the ultimate end, what do you call, I don't know if I'll quote it right, ruat justitia culem, let justice be done though the heavens fall. Meaning, when we leave this commission, let it not be because of ours lined up through this way of the questioning that didn't get to put all the other instances where others were involved in the same exercises are not covered. But in my case, everything they said about me is all exposed and covered. I'm just praying that we will get to that point where we say, yeah, but this man who climbed the mountain and say 1, 2, 3, 4 and threw stones at a glass house, his is more double than actually what he's saying. And then let the commission be able to assess everything and all at once, rather than having a situation where he went up to the mountain, he threw stones, he's the one now who's going collecting everyone's phones, deleting that what affects him, and then at the ultimate end, We are being prosecuted, or investigated, cross-examined, all of us. And in their case, even the report that gets then given and said for further investigation, get given to him again to investigate again. It's not fair.
Okay, so you've said a lot, and you've given, I think what you're trying to give me a lesson in how the commission should be run.
Justice.
You're giving me a lesson in justice, okay. So I am not going to engage with you on that. I just want an answer to the question, okay? When I said to you, are you raising these examples because they didn't do anything wrong, therefore you shouldn't be called out for the same behavior? Or are you saying they also, what they did was wrong and they should be called out? I mean, it's a simple thing, and I don't want a lecture, please.
I didn't see anything wrong.
Okay, all right. And as regards your first part of your answer, you said that you're not in supply chain management. So, therefore, it's okay to have had a service provider present. I am making a distinction here between engaging with service providers as stakeholders in a professional context and having a service provider at a private, intimate family gathering, that there's a difference. So just bearing that in mind, can your regulations and instructions dealing with conflicts of interest, doesn't it apply to every employee within SAPS, not only to some? So, meaning anybody who might be at risk of showing bias to service provider, even if you're not in supply chain management, that is something you need to be cautious about.
I'm not an expert in that regard or no have knowledge, deep knowledge around that aspect, other than to say that I'm sure as human beings, in the absence of being a policeman, I'm a human being. If I have a death case in the family, or I have an event, and then there's someone that I know, I have seen situations where someone says, hey, I can't invite you because obviously it's going to be questionable. That why did I invite this one or that one, maybe at the wedding. But in my case, at that point in time, I really didn't mind if he's coming, because the main reason, the main purpose was to come to collect his wife per se. But I didn't really have any problem. So I guess, Chair, I don't want to waste your time, but I just want to say I may not have a deep knowledge in terms of what the standing orders or what the regulations are saying, specifically in relation to who in fact can be invited and who cannot and under what circumstances. If he was in supply chain and I participated in the process, I would also understand. But now that is something that is far from me.
Yeah, we've dealt with that. I've explained to you why it doesn't matter whether you're in supply chain or not. It's something that would bind all employees of the SAPS. But I hear you saying you're not aware of the standing orders or regulations or instructions governing this. That's what you're saying. I'll ask you one last question on this then. Isn't it incumbent upon senior management in the service to be aware of those regulations and instructions concerning conflict of interest, particularly so that you can set an example for subordinates?
It is, in particular, when you know that you shouldn't be mixing with this person because this person is a service provider in a space where you are operating, or that affect, or that is relevant to your work environment. Now, my work environment is completely different one. I'm not in HR, I'm not in supply chain.
I'm going to leave it there, Chair.
Can I just ask a question that I should have asked General, still to do with this WhatsApp? In the same vein as my last question to you, did you inform General Shibiri? We've established he was at your house. Did you inform him that Sergeant Nkosi would also be coming to your house?
I don't remember, Chair.
Yes.
I don't remember. All I know is that Sergeant Nkosi was the one actually who helped me, I think, in the mornings to put things together, and then he left.
Yes.
And then maybe he was to come later. Sometimes he would just help and go and say, I'll come back later, but doesn't come. And to me, as long as he helped me, so I didn't discuss the issue of, I might have said actually Shibiri may come or will come. I don't want to limit myself to like, no, I don't know, I don't remember, I don't know. I'm just trying to put...
You may have mentioned it.
I may have.
Okay. Well, the reason I ask is because if you look at that page 546, the very last message there, which is message number 8, it has General Shibiri asking, where are you? And then it say Kanji. And then if you turn to the next page, he corrects himself. And then he says,